say you want it feature pen. You write books, film, song, I think, but that's how it end. The way you work, really, them I feel respect it, my friend. Nah, I beg nobody, no.
Hello everyone, it's Jay Mullings from Written Mirror, aka Wicked Penman. I wanted to make a special video really. As of July 4th, it will be 7 years since I started Written Mirror. And you know, I know for my YouTube journey, I've not really, let's call this video one. Like, this is what video one should have been really, but you know, I like to work out of sync and do things my own way. So what I want to do with this video is, you know, take you through the journey, how I started, why I started, what happened in each year, and then obviously my plans for the future going forwards with Written Mirror. So I'm going to try and make this very quick. Not that we're losing light or anything, but I think this park is due to close soon. I don't know if you could see that. That's a nice little, well, you'll see on the B-roll and stuff, of course, but that's a nice lake behind me. And it's getting quite quiet. People are peeling away little by little, so that's telling me it's time to get the hell on out of here. But anyway, let's get straight to it. Written Mirror began in July 4th, 2012. That summer I was working at the Olympics as well for London 2012, strangely enough. The reason I started Written Mirror, and you know, people that know me will know this, or at least they might be aware of this by now, is I wanted a space where I could work, you know, creatively, like a sandpit, somewhere where I could just try things. And you know, the main weapon in my armory at that time, if you like, was poetry. I was writing a lot of poetry. I was experimenting with blogs, film reviews, and just other, I guess I always knew somewhere deep down in my mind that I would move on to other creative things, but that was the main reason for starting in 2012. But then I was dabbling in photography at the time and travel. I was looking at like sort of the dynamics between, in relationships between partners. I was really trying to find what it is that really took my fancy creatively, and I was doing that by, like I said, trying a lot of things. So that was 2012 really, where I wrote, like I said, a lot of poetry. And then there was a kind of a secret mission for Written Mirror, which was, you know, to get me to do my screenplays and do my story writing. I was one of those writers who would keep the perfect story in his head and never sit down to actually, you know, to get this thing down on paper or download the information onto the screen somehow. And I knew that if I had a website, not that it was vanity or anything, but I wouldn't allow my website to become obsolete. I would always be updating it. And while I'm sat there, you know, warmed up and everything after having done my Written Mirror stuff, the next move would be to, you know, to continue the writing session and start doing more of my story writing and my screenwriting. And that really helped. In the beginning, I got the balance was pretty much 80% website stuff, and then 20% was like screenplays and that. But even at 20%, because I was doing it so often, it was very beneficial, and I noticed I was improving and getting further along a lot quicker. Then after that, 2013 was a year where I kind of got the balance the other way around. I was doing my Written Mirror stuff, but I was more focusing on the screenplay and storytelling elements and researching and really getting on to understand the craft of storytelling. So during that time, you saw more, you know, film reviews, film critiques, you know, and just kind of an appreciation for mise en scène more prominently than at any time before that. The poetry was less regular, but at the same time, you know, it was still kind of the main thing that was driving Written Mirror. A lot of people, because I looked at poetry as being one of my weakest forms of writing. I don't know what it was about it. Normally I'm not precious. I'm not scared to try things. Like even now with my music and stuff, I'm not scared to experiment and try things. But poetry was just something that I was like, I needed to put it out there and just see what came back. And a lot of the time, a lot of it was very positive. Same thing with the blog posts I was writing and the kind of, you know, the kind of subject matter I was handling. So 2014, like I said, was more spent on developing my screenwriting craft, and I had a few awards under my belt by then. So I was looking ahead to 2015. 2015, I was certain was going to be like a huge year for me. I'd completed, well, 1, 2, 3, maybe 3 screenplays. I finished Treehouse, well, multiple episodes of Treehouse, Femin Unity, the feature-length film I'd written. The Boys Are Back, I feel like that was 2015. But I was churning them out. I was in my stride. Photography-wise, I'd taken a step back on that. Writing, rewriting, editing, takes a lot of time. And then obviously I was working on the first book, the Thought Book 1. So that was what my creative slate was filled with. Poetry kind of took a backseat as well in 2015. And then yeah, it was really about, I was really in love with I was smitten with screenwriting. That was like the form of writing I wanted to do most. I've done other projects here and there, you know, I've written on magazines, been in newspapers and made appearances on, you know, different radio shows and so on and so forth. But everything is with screenwriting as the foundation and the basis of what I do for storytelling, even if I've done other things. But then 2016 was like the first year where I just completely, not fallen off, but there was a lot going on. I had a car accident. I was working full time and it wasn't a very enjoyable environment. A lot of things were going on in 2016. So everything kind of slowed down a bit, and you know, while I was recovering, and it was a long recovery and a painful one. But so 2016 was, you know, the content kind of slowed down a little bit. But even then, once I got back a hold of myself around October, November of 2016, I decided that, you know, I was going to stay very consistent. I wanted to, you know, at least have something going on every week. And then the Thought Book 2 was due to come out. At that time, I wrote most of it, but it wasn't set up for me to publish that year. I redid the website, redid the branding, went to the Mark II logo, if you like, and, you know, just really started thinking ahead for the first time, like being able to look up and say, all right, this is where your strengths lie. These are the things you're not so good at that you could do with improving. And that led me into 2017. 2017 was a good year creatively. I completed my book. I'd won I was well into the 20s with the awards by then. And I knew that, I guess I started to get the you know, the vision, or the jigsaw was starting to form, where take shape, where I understood that I wanted to make a film in 2018. So that's kind of where I was. I had some other personal setbacks and things that were going on, but you know, my mindset kind of shifted from, you know, you from survival to thriving, you know. So 2018 was like the revenge year, the get back year, the year where I was like, you know, nothing's gonna get in my way no matter what. And you know, that's when the Thought Book 2 came out, and I was lucky enough that despite, like I said, the setbacks I was having and the obstacles I was facing, I was able to you know, get filming on the way for the jam. And I wrote a lot of songs that summer. It was a very creative time, and I look back on it because obviously this is a year later, and it was a very creative time. It was a very experimental time, and it was a time where, you know, I'm quite fond to say that my mindset was take on the risks and try and do something different and new and exciting, and don't just settle for what everyone else has done before, or, you know, being a cookie cutter of someone else. 2019, this year, I know the year isn't complete, but as in, like, you know, the anniversary year for Written Mirror, the 7th year, if you like. Again, it was more about completing those musical projects, completing those stories, you know, completing the vision for the Thought Book 2, as in I'm not necessarily trying to sell 1 million copies of the books. That's never been my focus, if you like. Obviously, if that were to happen, I'd take that, because, you know, bills need to be paid and such. Man's living in London, you know what I mean? Like, but anyway, I've kind of switch my focus to finding the people that it would benefit the most and focusing on those people. Same thing with the content I'm making. The content is all about people who have ambition, people who have dreams, people who want to do stuff with their life. And then a lot of people, I know they're coming to me and they're saying, well, you know, a lot of what you write is for the writing community, but I mean, you can apply so much to life, not just because I read The Art of War. It's not because I want to be a general and massacre people. It's because, you know, I want to be able to strategize and keep a level head when I'm planning things. Same thing when I read the 48 Laws of Power. I'm not out there thinking about how I can dethrone kings and stuff like that. So I'm just like, you know, I really am focusing on the people who are awake. You know, and let's not use the word woke, because I know that triggers some people, but just people who, they know who they are, or they're getting familiar with who they are inside, and they want to get in touch with their hidden depths. They want to know what it is that makes them special and makes them tick. You know, that's been the focus of this year. And obviously the film is doing well at the festivals. I'm not being given a fair shake by all of them. I know that for a fact. When they come back with the, you know, the standardized rejection letter, it's things like aesthetics, and, you know, I do this aesthetically, and my narrative makes sense, and what I'm talking about in the jam is based on my actual life, and I have real people in my film, like, you know, the people who were there going through it with me and who have an opinion on what I'm doing. And that's what I've been focused on, and that's what I've delivered. And, you know, the notion that, not saying I'm supposed to win every award, like I'm not arrogant, I'm not an asshole or anything like that, but I know what I put into making my film and the budget that I used to make my film, so on and so forth. So it's like, you know, if you're not going to accept me at your festival, the least you can do is give me some helpful feedback and at least prove you've watched the content, because a lot of the time you can tell that people haven't watched it. That, and, you know, on Vimeo I can check who's seen my film. So, you know, to all the festivals out there, you're not that slick. I know the ones who've been watching and I know who hasn't been watching. Plans for the future, and I'm gonna try and keep this short, because how long has this been going on? Wow, this is gonna probably end up being nearly a 15-minute video. I'm gonna wrap this up very quickly because it's a lovely day. I actually do wanna go for a walk before I get out of here. So, plans for the future. Another film. I've got the taste for it now. I know what's required. I need to make something. And the first film I made, ironically, was a documentary and not one of my screenplays. I haven't directed one of my screenplays yet. That's in my back pocket. I've got a few screenplays I've been writing that I want to wrap up. And then again, if no one's gonna back me, you know, the idea is for the next couple of years is to back myself and take all the risks and, you know, do the things that people take pleasure in telling me I can't do. So I hope, it's been a lot of me talking, so I'm probably going to try and balance this out with some quality B-roll and some nice music and stuff. I appreciate all the support I've gotten. I know on a personal level, I've decided that the direction I'm going forwards is just to focus on the people who give me energy, and anyone else, I'm sorry, but, you know, normally I'm quite an open energy person and I don't really harbor resentment towards people and such, but I've decided now that the only people who can get my energy going forwards are people who deserve it and no one else. Yeah, that's really it. I think I'm gonna sign out. Hold on, let me show you a bit about what's going on around here.
Family, what else matters? All bad mind have to scatter. They could have never dissed my shatters. 2019 and the summer I got hotter. I'm the Penman. Wicked Penman. Alright, let me tell you this. The family have to prosper. Nah, take no chat from the park. Go in CB, go check my banker. She said the money full up like a tanker.